Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls, coming to you from the West Coast. This is my third card in my series of 3 cards that go together. I should bring my other 2 in. So here's my first 2, here's my third. You can see the unifying factor there. Made this card with the Altenew Fanciful Pansies. Love how it came out, so let me show you how it's made. All right, so I'm going to start with my Fanciful Pansies stamp die and stencil set. I just got this one, and so I've been dying to play with it. I haven't even used it yet. So I've just got a piece of Nina card. It's like 80-pound smooth cardstock. And we're going to start by stamping with, let's see if it works. And I don't care how it's on there, you know, this, if the cardstock's straight, you can see I just cut it with my scissors, so it's not straight, because I'm going to cut it with a die anyway, so. Whenever I'm going to do stenciling, I like to use my sticky mat. And this does come with a set of stencils. There's 4 stencils. And with the Altenew stamp set, it actually has the stencil information on the inside of the packaging for the stamps. And so it'll show you, you know, some suggested colors, and then it'll also show you kind of, you know, so here's the first color and that's where it goes, and then here's the second color and that's where that goes. So this is super helpful. So I always keep this out while I'm stenciling because it helps me find, you know, figure out where the stencils are supposed to go. So like this one, see, is there's a line across here, so it's these 3 that need to go on, and I don't worry about those because I'm going to come back and use those later. So we're going to line that up. And if your paper is smaller, then so that your stencil actually touches that mat, then the sticky mat will hold your stencil. Mine is really not, I mean, it's just a little bit, so I'm going to use some low-tack tape. And I'm going to do mine in purples. So I'm going to use Wisteria, Hydrangea, and Ultraviolet. So I'm going to start with Wisteria. Now we're going to do stencil 2. Let's go this way. This time I do have a little bit more touching the sticky mat, so that's helpful. I'm going to go to Hydrangea, which is a darker. Well, it's stencil 1, but it's the first part and the second part. And then this one goes on and is the leaves. I start with Pistachio, the lightest color, and this green. This also has the center of the flowers, which I'm going to do in a fresh lemon. We'll go to Misty Sage. And finally, And use the green opal for the very darkest of the leaves. And then there's a little bit of more purple up here. And I think I'm just gonna deepen it with, and rather than using the ultraviolet, I think I'm just gonna take the hydrangea again, which is the color I used before, and I'm just gonna darken those sections with another layer of the hydrangea. And that will give me some contrast, but not a huge amount. Let's see what that looks like. I can always change it and add more. No, I like that. I think that's perfect. So sometimes you don't need to use a different color. You can just layer multiple layers of the same color on to get a nice, pretty ombre effect. I'm going to use the die that comes with it. It's got a die set. I'm going to use that die set to cut out my inked pansies. And I love the dies that cut out the inside like that. I just think it adds so much to it so that you don't have these big white blobs in the middle of your flower. So this is the third card in a series that I'm making, and they all feature the same background, embossed background, and the same arch. So the embossed background is an embossed 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders. And then I've just got some arch nesting dies, and this is 3 by 4.5. And then I just cut it once in the green matte foil and twice in white and layered them up. So you get a little more sturdiness. I got a 5 by 6.5 inch card and a piece of foam that I'm going to use to give me a little bit of dimension on my background. And as I've mentioned, I like to use the foam sheets as opposed to foam tape because it gives you a solid, gives you solid all the way through. So when it's on the card and you're pushing down, you don't get any spots where it sinks in. And then I'm going to use a combination of tape, double-sided tape, and wet glue to put the foam on, because it only has, adhesive on one side. Now you can use adhesive sheets. I always use wet glue, but I'm going to put some adhesive tape on there too, just because it helps it get more of an instant grab, because the wet glue does take a while, since this is it's not cardstock, so it will take a little bit to dry. Then I've got my little arch that's going to go on there, and I've got a sentiment that I cut out of the same green matte foil and then also out of white, and I layered those up to give me a little more dimension without adding foam. And that's going to go on here, but I'm going to put my flower in first, and I want it to kind of tuck underneath there and then come out at the top, come out of the arch. So I want it underneath in spots and on top in spots like that. And then I'm going to put my sentiment right on top of there. And I always kind of do a dry fit first. So I'm going to raise this up with some foam tape. So it's going to go right about there. But before I push it down completely, I want to get my flowers in there. Now I can push it all down at once. I'm going to add my sentiment. It's kind of right about there, top of my flowers. And there we go. Love how that came out. Straighten up my smile. There, all done. Thanks for watching.